All right, welcome back. I put out a video, I think it was about a week ago, talking about the undercurrent, which is what I'm calling this force that sits beneath the surface when we sense something deeply changing within this world. It's part of the collective human condition experience in today's world that we are more divided than we've ever been before. Um, as a society, as a people, and even as a species. And the question is, why is that? The fundamental truth, the way I understand it, is that obviously fear is by design, right? It's not an accident. To have people focused in that way on just their own basic survival takes away from the deeper meaning of life. I'm really confused with the phrase "Make America Great Again." I think we all harken back to a more simple time. And, with me being a millennial, I can tell you there were more simple times. Those simple times were attached to childhood. Those simple times were attached with a level of nostalgia that wasn't maybe even real to the world, right? But then we've all had to grow up at such a crazy rate that's just not natural. And when I say the world's divided, I mean, you just see the division of the sexes, right? Women versus men, men versus women, blue versus red, red versus blue. Um, you know, uh, good versus evil. I mean, these are all, of course, human constructs for things that we perceive in the world, and that doesn't make them, I guess, any less real, but it's the labels that we assign to specific things, maybe values in this case. And so um, something came up, and I don't have it in front of me here, but I picked up a card at church the other day. And, there were basically a bunch of different words spread out across the various tables that you could pick up. And, I picked up like five of them, this was, I don't know, maybe a month ago. And then just this past week or 2 weeks ago, I picked up another one. And the card I picked up was fulfillment. I think when it seriously comes down to it with the human condition, and certainly this has been the case in my life, because I've went through a long period of long silent reflection over my own struggles over the past 20 years, let alone what's happened in the past 10 years in this country, more globally, and then as we try to seek purpose and value in what we do and how we relate to one another. I recognize that right now in this world, we all feel deeply alone for reasons that maybe we don't fully comprehend, and we tend, it's just part of the human condition. As it turns out, it's not anything specifically unique to me or unique to others. We tend to withdraw, and go into hermit mode when we're stuck in survival, when we become chronically unbalanced. And oftentimes when we get caught there, we don't know how to proceed forward. And certainly that's the case when you look at the job market right now and, what people are calling in terms of calling forth their sense of calling. Because I think that's the deepest value we can find in today's world is simply finding the time to connect with one another and to not be afraid of that. I think humans have lost touch in the technological age of the internet. I think it's primarily born of that. I also think it's born of, not to get political here, but it's born of the Reagan administration, Nixon administration, to where it's gotten us today, and there's just not very much help for the everyday person. And because of that, we are becoming more intolerant to, being played with and mind games. essentially. That for us, we're currently trying so desperately to seek what's real, like what's real in this world today, you know, and that's like a fundamental question that comes to my mind, in terms of what's real and what's preventing us from having those real conversations. Is it discomfort? Is it because we're too focused on survival that we can't ground ourselves? I've even questioned that from my own heart for a while, as God's called me here to put forward these messages, as I'm recording this. And I guess it's 5 minutes into this video. So, which is actually good because I need to keep these probably under 10 minutes for people to actually take the time to watch these. As I mentioned in my previous video, I basically spent the past 10 years in one form or another, and even longer than that, dealing with struggle and being forged in the darkness, quiet, out of sight. And what I need to recognize is there are a lot of voices in the world right now, and I'm glad that people are using their voices. I think it's very important. But for me, I've been looking for deep fundamental truth, and I don't see people really talking about that. I see some of it, but it's always somewhat tangential to what truth we should really be talking about, in today's world. So, and I think it's really important that we start having real conversations about these things. If we have any hope of picking apart, the fundamental construct of what got us to our current state of reality. And no doubt some of this is born out of COVID-19 and just global consciousness and fear and paranoia, because a lot of these issues did not exist prior to COVID-19. And now they're with us here today, even though there were times during COVID-19 that we all found times to connect, yet we're not finding the same camaraderie today. I think today feels even more divided and more spread out than it was even back then. But at least we know where like some of the fundamental trauma exists for people, whether those are the traumas in their own lives, difficulties they've experienced in their own lives versus more, globally, more universally. So anyways, I'm going to be putting out this video for now. I did want to mention, I did plan on talking in this next video a bit about multiple sclerosis, just because that's something I deal with. But I think that's going to have to wait till my next video if I want to get into that too much, I don't know what's specifically helpful for people. I just know that God's called me forth to do this in my life, and I need to take more time to trust it. There's just been some pretty heavy things that have been weighing in my heart for the past 3 weeks, past month since I put out, I scheduled my most recent short form videos. And like I said, just this past week and a half, I put out, a longer form video. It didn't get the kind of traction I hoped it would. But that's okay. Really what I'm doing is I'm doing this not for the money. I'm doing this because I want to make a difference in this world and try to help mend the pain. I definitely know what resilience is. I don't think anyone ever prepares you, to go through what you go through in life, and for people to say that you're strong, or identify that you're resilient. To be quite honest, I'm not even sure if it's a choice. I think it is a choice, obviously, because to a degree, because people do fall apart. Some people are not able to withstand the storms that come in their life. Because I think for a lot of us, we're just really on edge. We're just waiting for that next thing to happen. Us losing a job, us losing a family member. That's just going to set us completely over the edge, and I like to bring some like actual fundamental sanity to what are otherwise kind of insane times, unprecedented times, and the human condition and human consciousness. So if that interests you, I encourage you to stick around, please do the thing, like, rate, subscribe this. If that's something that is interesting to you, I'm currently seeing only 26 subscribers. But if that's something that's interesting to you and you want to take the time to connect, that would be appreciated, because I think it's something that I'm definitely trying to elucidate on as I explore it myself, and just edging into my own spiritual awakening here, which I thought happened about a year ago, a little over a year ago from now, but actually is really happening right now. See, letting go of the ego and just, understanding that I can't be satisfied sitting back and remaining quiet when, as an empath, as a chosen one, I feel the weight of the world on my heart, let alone my own struggles. So I'm hoping we can help solve this together. So peace and love to you all. Until next time.